Joining me now, Texas Republican Congressman Jodey Arrington, chair of the House Budget Committee. Good to have you on Fox News Sunday this morning, sir.
Great to be with you, Shannon. God bless and happy Sunday.
Okay, let's talk about this. You and I have had conversations in which you are very concerned about out-of-control spending and the growing debt. The combination of that, you said just days ago, is the greatest threat to our country and our children's future. No responsible leader can witness this precipitous decline and defend the status quo. And that yet is what critics say you're doing. This reconciliation package extending the tax cuts from 2017, cuts to other places that are very important. So looking at that, are you convinced, though, that the president, the speaker, the other House chairs, including our next guest, Jason Smith, share that level of concern that you do about the out-of-control spending?
Well, Shannon, I think every Republican says that they share that concern. The question is, will we have the political courage to execute on that and right-size the bloated bureaucracy, as was reflected in the president's budget, and deal with this wartime level debt, $2 trillion in annual deficit spending that's going to double, and interest payments that exceed not only national defense, but Medicare payments. The wheels are coming off the wagon. We can't get to the president's rocket ship economy. We cannot usher in the golden age. In fact, we risk a sovereign debt crisis if we don't deal with the unsustainable deficits and national debt. So this is a pivotal moment for our country. It's a generational opportunity to get our fiscal house in order, and that has to be a part of. And in fact, the president has called for us to put our country on a path to balance. That is part of the full America First agenda, and it's reflected in the House budget resolution.
Okay, so let's talk about this reconciliation package, because there are a number of skeptics who think it only will explode debt and deficit. Are you convinced that what's been put together, you can tell the American people, is not going to contribute to the concerns that you have? Are there any daylights? Is there any difference between what you and Chairman Smith have come up with? Because there's still a lot of very difficult decisions to be made about this package, the details.
Yeah, I'm convinced that if we take the cost of tax cuts and defense and border spending, and we achieve and exceed our budget targets for offsetting those through revenue to the Treasury as a result of the pro-growth policies in the budget reconciliation bill, and the deficit spending reduction through entitlement reform mainly. That's health care, welfare, and other programs. If we do that, Shannon, we will bend the curve on debt to GDP and deficit to GDP. The Secretary of Treasury says we have to stabilize the debt and give confidence to the bond markets. And we have to go from 7% deficit GDP to 3.5%. So if we follow the framework that we laid out in the budget resolution, then we will restore fiscal health. It won't get us out of the debt hole overnight, but it is a good first step and a down payment for our kids to actually be on good fiscal footing, a sustainable path, and enjoy the same opportunities and freedoms that we have. So the House is going to drive it. If we achieve that framework and those budget targets, we will improve the fiscal health of our country, indeed.
So one of the things you talk, and I hear you saying if a lot, sounding as if you maybe are not convinced that this is all yet locked into stone, the place that you would like it to be, to see the math, as we say, when it comes to figuring these things out on Capitol Hill. But I want to ask you about Medicaid specifically, because the House and Energy and Commerce Committee has been tasked with cutting $880 billion. Now, they oversee Medicaid, so that's where Democrats think the slashing is going to come. Here is the top Democrat in the House, Hakeem Jeffries.
They want to end Medicaid as we know it. They're going to hurt children, hurt families, hurt seniors, hurt people with disabilities, close hospitals, shut down nursing homes, and people will die.
Okay, almost no one thinks that you can slash $880 billion just through waste, fraud, and abuse. So what is your response to the Democrats' warning about the fact that Medicaid may come into play here?
Well, you asked me about the if the if conditional language I'm using. And the reason I'm doing that is because the question is, will Republicans surrender the opportunity to actually bend the curve on entitlement spending and enact entitlement reforms? Because There is a tremendous amount of waste and fraud. In fact, the Government Accountability Office says upwards of $500 billion over the 10-year budget window just in Medicaid. You've got hundreds of billions siphoned out for other purposes than serving the Medicaid beneficiary. There is no work requirement for able-bodied adults like there is in every other means-tested welfare program. And in fact, Medicaid, because we give a higher federal match to able-bodied adult population, this is the Obamacare expansion population, we actually hurt access to the pregnant, blind, disabled, the most vulnerable, the poorest and sickest among our fellow Americans as a result of the structure of the program. We can save over $1.5 trillion without touching a dime of the benefit funding. So the question is, will we be susceptible to the fear-mongering and the false rhetoric that you just heard from the Democrat minority leader in the House? And this is the same tired play they run. And unfortunately, Republicans haven't collectively leaned in and just done the right thing. We will be rewarded because we're doing this for the sustainability of these programs for the most vulnerable, as well as being fiduciaries for tax dollars. And this moment will not happen in my political lifetime again. So we have to seize it, do the right thing, and go educate and sell what we did to the American people. And the benefits that accrue, I think, will come to fruition by the midterms, and it will go well for our party. Yeah,
they're going to want to see short-term and long-term payoff. And I know the devil's in the details. And like you said, getting out there and selling it once you have this lockdown is another part of the equation. Chairman, we appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Shannon.